Hello, you're listening to Otaku Spirit Animecast. My name is Andrew, and I'm joined here with Chris.
Yo.
Today's episode is our Spring 2025 Anime Season First Impressions Part 2. Hopefully we'll get through more shows this time. Hopefully we can get through more shows this time around, because we still got a crap ton to go through. This week we'll probably getting into Can a Boy... We're going to get into Can a Boy Girl Friendship Survive, because that's like literally the first one. But we're going to try to get through all these. Catch Me at the Ballpark, Takamine-san, Your Forma, The Brilliant Healer's New Life, the Once Upon a Witch's Death, The Dinner Table Detective, Sword of the Demon Hunter, I've Been Killing Slimes for 300 Years, Lazarus, Gorilla God, Zatsutabi, yada, yada, yada. That's probably where we're going to cut off, but we'll see. As per usual, we're at otakuspirit.com. It's where you can go for all of our links, social media links, ways to get a hold of us, ways to support us. Greatly appreciate it. Sports channel. With that said, are you ready?
I hope so.
You ready to dive into some stuff?
I hope so.
You had a lot of carryovers from last week.
Yeah.
You apparently got busy this last week. So yeah, we'll hopefully be able to fill this one out. Let's kick things off with Can a Boy Girl Friendship Survive? Probably the biggest trash fire of the season right now, at least based on my own experience. The show that everybody seems to be liking. I'm not sure if they like it for the right reasons, but we're going with it. This one is Danjo no Youjo wa Seritsu Suru Iya Shinai. But yeah, this one is done by JC Staff, based on a light novel. The genres are comedy, romance, and the director worked on Sugar Apple Fairy Tale and Planet With. But yeah, this one opens up with a Yu Natsumi, and Yu Natsumi, it's like when he was a little bit younger, I think like 2 years back in the past to the current time. He was really badly trying to sell enough of these little trinkets that he made in his little club. We find out later on the reason for that is because he was trying to prove to his parents that he could sell these. He really likes to, take trinkets, or he likes to take flowers and turn them into trinkets. And so he's been really trying to sell them so that could become like a part of his, life going forward as a business. And he was trying to sell them. He wasn't selling any. And this girl just shows up out of nowhere. This really cute girl shows up out of nowhere, and she decides to help him sell them. Jump forward, they make kind of a promise together because she helps him sell them. That in return for her having his eyes, because she really likes the look of his eyes whenever he's crafting these trinkets, she will help him sell them. And so, yes, jump forward, she's actually modeling for like all the jewelry that he has, and so they're selling decently well. They're selling through this like online store that his family's convenience store has, and so he's doing that there. The jump for a little bit later on, we get a sense the two of them are kind of like friends forever type of thing. They're always going to be friends. Every now and then she jokes about the fact that, yes, when he turns 30, if he doesn't have a wife, she'll marry him. It seems like her brother is like even like addresses him as like a stepbrother, because he's already kind of committed that, yeah, this guy's going to become my stepbrother at some point, going to marry my sister.
Brother-in-law.
Yeah. And then after that, we kind of get into the appearance of Rion, which Rion is this girl that apparently has fallen in love with Yu through his jewelry. Because she always sees the jewelry that Himari, this friend of his, is actually wearing all the time and modeling for him. And she, according to her mother, believes that the beauty of one's heart can be seen through their craftsmanship. And so she has fallen in love with the person making the jewelry that Himari is wearing. And sure enough, through, deducing that she's wearing these, finds out who Yu Natsumi is and is in love with him. So Himari, knowing this, is like, oh, let me help the two of them to get together. And so she kind of sets them up to get together, starts to kind of push Yu to have Rion actually model for him because he's looking for more inspiration. And eventually he wants her to be a model, and then Himari gets mad because jealousy. And she's always actually liked Yu Natsume. Big shocker. That's as far as I got. She gets really angry and chucks the water on him, and they both scream in the middle of a restaurant.
So you didn't see the is she actually the childhood friend, but actually Rion is actually the childhood friend?
Well, yeah, that was the whole moment where they were like, he was trying to get them together, and yeah, there was like this little thing where he ran into her in the middle of this flower shop, and he gave her a flower and then took her back to her family, and that apparently is a very important part of their life because that one scene together.
Yeah, that one scene that changed everything.
And just happens to be this person that was making these trinkets that she fell in love with just happens to be that same boy. How crazy coincidental is that? Must be fate.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't see.
It's the gods just playing with the chessboard, you know.
I didn't see the moment where apparently I seen a clip where the brother gets onto Himari for her tsundere nature.
So I'm guessing you're letting me kind of lead the next part.
Unless you want to start introing it and doing the synopsis.
Right? I'm mixed on this. I like it. I love the kind of toying with the nature of their relationship. The biggest problem that I probably have is just kind of the almost nasty nature of Himari in a lot of ways. I mean, she obviously likes him, but that push to kind of deny her own kind of internal struggle, and yet blow it up on Natsume in a lot of cases. It's just kind of really frustrating. I know that's the nature of the character tropes. That's fine. I'm not saying that. I just for me, I do like the two together. I think that they are actually really good. I don't like the nature of the tsundere being overpowering the entire story. I guess is really kind of my frustration with it.
I literally do think, and I think that was kind of a conclusion I came to as well, is like it was almost like a show that was working so well until Rion shows up. And it's not that Rion's a bad character.
No.
It's just that she makes Himari turn into like the most unbearable character ever. Like it was so good when it was just you and Himari, because it's literally like the friends there'll be friends forever. They've been together for so long and nothing separates them. And you sees like a lot of special in Himari, and Himari literally, she felt like she was the only one that seen the special in you. He's this outcast. Nobody sees how great he is. You know, the guy's like, literally, you're gonna hang out with that Natsume guy again? And she's like, none of them realize how important he is. And it, like the moments that are together is great because Himari's just always like a little gremlin just jumping on him, massive like neck hug. You know, these are like the most cherished arms that are wrapping around the most sought after neck or something like that. It's like the cutest little moment where she's just climbing all over him and he's just like, you know, get off of me, won't let go of her or let go of me. And I love it whenever it's in Yu's head. One of the fun things that they do with his character is he's always like internalizing like, oh, you're probably looking at me like, yeah, I'm so cute. I bet you want me to tease you. Like he always makes these massive assumptions about what she's thinking, which is probably right. He's always like this big thing, like, you know that I'm so cute, and you'll let me do anything. You want me to tease you, and I love how it kind of does that back and forth between the two of them. But the moment that Rion shows up, it's like, okay, she wants him to move on. She wants to set them up, and I get that whole idea of realizing at some point, wait, I actually don't like this.
Yeah.
I don't like.
I even gave that leeway. Mm-hmm. It at some point it was like, okay, this is getting a bit much because
it's the wishy-washy.
Yeah. At
get
some
together.
point,
don't get together. Get together. Don't get together.
At some point, it just became really, really overbearing on her part, and I think that I'm gonna continue watching the show. I do really like. I think the character artwork is absolutely fantastic. But
if the studio keeps it together,
if the her personality doesn't do some kind of quick shift, I'm gonna be really distasteful, or I'm gonna find it very distasteful at some point.
Yeah, I think the big hook for me was Himari's character, and when Rion comes in the picture, I agree. It's like it works, and she's a fine character. I mean, I don't have any like selling point to Rion character besides the Nisekoi, oh, remember the photo kind of moment. Like there's something special about this moment we met for 2 seconds. She's fine, but it's like with Himari's character in response to that, it turns into I get that for a moment it was going the route of it's not the same. Like now that Rion's there, I help them to get together. Things aren't the same. He's not reacting the same as he always does to my teasing. Because of course, you suddenly, when Himari is getting a little bit doty on him, he's immediately turning to Rion because he doesn't want Rion to get the wrong idea. It turns that whole thing of don't get the wrong idea thing, and so he's not responding the same way he always has. He's changing. But it barely creeps into there. Like it barely touches on that, and then it quickly just shifts into, like we said, it's just the constant get together, don't get together, get together, don't get together. He's constantly helping Rion strike a really nice pose for you, which should help him, but at the same time, it's something she doesn't want because she doesn't want them together. And then she's at home and she's going, no, I don't want him to be with her. And it's like, girl, then just tell him. And then it's the teasing. Okay, I get the kiss tease. Okay, that was like before it seemed like you and Rion could be a thing, but like the whole like the second kiss tease was like the girl literally wanted him to take the move, but then she turns her damn phone on to make a joke out of it and then goes, I was ready for it. Who's writing this? There's moments like that throughout this entire series where it's like, I don't know if this writer has like a stability and like his mindset of how people act. Like I get that it's fiction, but if you're gonna have romance and drama mixed in there, you gotta have it be believable. And the writing just feels so off. Like Himari's character feels so illogical. Romance makes people illogical, but this is not anywhere near a sense of logical. And it just feels so dumb. Even that outburst, the end of that third episode, I think it was, even that felt super weird because it's almost like they wanted to be like a really disrespectful moment where she's just pours the water on his head and says, I want to split up. But then it turns into a comedy gag because they're both screaming at the top of their lungs. And it's like, okay, it's supposed to be comedic. I guess we're not supposed to take this seriously. It feels, the writing overall just feels so off. But yeah, I'm kind of on the same page as you. I'll probably keep watching it. Visually, it's kind of gone downhill very bad, especially in the third episode. So hopefully JC staff, this is probably their B team. I'm not going to guess it's going to get any better, but I'm hoping it at least stabilizes and doesn't get worse. Because there's some really bad shots in the third episode. But it's a continued watch, but at the same time, I'm not gonna expect anything good out of it in the end, unfortunately. I just feel like it's gonna go down the usual route of probably she's gonna be crawling back to him very, very quickly. They'll probably reestablish. It's probably gonna turn this whole thing where maybe she's gonna probably push him onto Rion, and then have that whole fight again a second time.
At the end,
she'll finally confess.
Yeah, completely confess.
Yeah, have Rion be with him for 3 or 4 episodes and then confess the end, and then they might get together at the very end of the episode, at the very last of the last episode.
Did he choose the correct decision?
But that's the thing, is like I don't see anything, and this is funny to Himari's mindset. I don't see any relationship between you and Rion at the moment. I mean, they just met, but it's like I don't. In Yu's internal dialogue, there's no moments where he's like, "Oh my gosh, I really like this Rion girl." He literally just sees her as a model. He sees her as beautiful, but like he even says, like,
well, the only thing
I don't like pretty girls, but I like pretty girls. And that sounds weird, right? It's more of the fact that I don't like pretty girls, but I like to see my jewelry on them. So I'm always looking at them because I want to see how my jewelry would look on them. He never looks at Rihanna like, oh, doki doki.
And the only thing that I can see, I mean, as far as his side is concerned, is he's going to at some point face a realization of, hey, Himari's always been in my life. I have to have her be a part of my life. So
until he realizes no, because I haven't been able to make any good jewelry since I kept sticking with Himari, so I got to replace her. This dude like literally has a relationship with girls just so that he could have them model his stuff, and then he breaks up with them once he starts to get too plain about his jewelry. Just use them and discard them. Anyways, good OP. It's got a little dance sequence. I always like the dance sequence.
Whenever
OPs.
His big sister gets tired of it, is jewelry, he dumps her.
Yeah, the sister was kind of cool, but yeah, she's like, you know, all these damn orders I gotta go through. The brother was cool though. I like Himari's brother. I was like, when they got through when the brother was showing up, I was like, you needs to get with the brother. It looks like he's a shoo-in for a set life. This guy's got money. Anyways, that's kind of boy-girl friendship survive. Yashinai. What was the next one? I almost just scrolled right down to the next one. I've done that before, and that was not a good thing. What is the next one? Catch Me at the Ballpark, the Don't Toy With Me in this Nagatoro wannabe show. Catch Me at the Ballpark, Ballpark Day Sukamete, streaming on Crunchyroll and for 12 episodes. This one opens up with a guy named Kotaro Murata, and during his breaks at work, he decides to head down to the local ballpark where he sits down and just enjoys getting away from his job. Like, his job's like super stressful, like his boss and everything's hard to deal with. But he likes to kind of unwind, go to the ballpark, sit down and watch the game, listen to all the people cheering. You have all the people over here that are cheering on people over here that are, really into the, stats and whatnot. You got the players themselves, you got the mascot, you got the security guards, the beer girls that go around toting around the beers, all these different individuals that over time through the series, it's kind of jumping around to each one of them and seeing what they sort of have to deal with. And that's kind of the gist of it. But yeah, a lot of the focus is on Kotaro eventually meeting one of the beer girls, which is Ruriko. And Ruriko comes up. Apparently, she's just started, so she's looking for her regulars that always come by, that always buy from them. And so she's hoping that Kotaro will become her regular. So yeah, and she constantly teases him. He wants to help her out because she kind of cheers him on. He wants to cheer her on by buying beer from her, and she always gets goofy tsundere about it, like, oh, so you want to buy more beers from me? You trying to hit on me or something like that? It does that kind of junk. So, like I said, very, very Miss Nagatoro-esque. Not violent like Miss Nagatoro was, not to that levels, but she definitely got that vibe to her. Like you like me, don't you? Kind of constantly getting in his face, like, oh, you like this, don't you? But yeah, that's the gist of Catch Me at the Ballpark so far, the story. I actually am very surprised how much I'm liking this show. Because I think when we came into this, my initial fear was this is probably going to be nothing but like super baseball-y jokes, all about baseball stats and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not a big, especially baseball fan. It's up there. Like I had a period of my life that I liked baseball, but just not something I'm interested in actually watching and getting into. And I assume that I wouldn't get a lot of the jokes. Plus, it does seem like there is quite a bit of the culture of Japan when it comes to baseball. It's very different. It's a very popular sport in Japan. So I was kind of very curious as to if I was going to even enjoy this show, or if it's going to get very statty, if it's going to get really statty, into the stats. It's going to get into the lingo and all that kind of stuff, and that was going to be its focus. That hasn't really been the case so far. I actually really do like the blend that it has had so far between, yes, there's like the rom-com jokes right here, which is the teasing girl, which is Ruriko, and her like, trying to get Kotaro to be her regular. And you come to find out very quickly after she's very bold with him when she first meets him, getting up really close. So you could be like one of my regulars. Oh, you really like me, don't you? You're trying to hit on me, all that kind of stuff. Eventually, I think he even buys a second glass from her because he's had a struggled day, and they were talking about like the people that are cheering on the baseball players. And so she mimics them by going, well, let me try out with you, help, cheer you on. Because he's never gotten the idea of doing the cheering. So she gets all up close to him and right into his ear and says, "Gambare, gambare," basically, go, you can do it, Kotaro. And then he's like, of course, get all flustered because she's whispering in his ear. And then suddenly when she goes to leave, he goes, "I'll buy a second one." She's like, "You just bought one." And he's like, "Yeah, but I want to cheer you on like you cheered me on." She's like, "Oh, you trying to hit on me or whatever." And then she goes to leave. And she goes down and like, how they have the stands, and then you go down these little tunnels that go out to the outside area. As she's going down the tunnel, down the steps, she gets to the bottom, and then suddenly she gets like super red and over flustered, and she's having to cool herself down because she just like got way more bold than she was actually. She was told by the other beer girls, you have to be bold, you have to get up next to them, you have to kind of get closer with them, and that's what'll make regulars. So she was trying to be bold with him, and it was way out of her comfort zone. So it's like the whole thing where like she seems like she's so like, yeah, gyaru, super hitting on him, but then she's actually, way out of her comfort zone. It was way too far for her. It was a cute little kind of realization. She does that a lot. She's trying to be bold, and then it just blows up in her face later on. That stuff's really great. I like their chemistry so far. She's also even included into the other characters they have. And like there was one guy that was he was a guy that was scouted from America to Japan. So he's an American in the team in Japan. And there was some people like talking about his stats and the fact that there's somebody else might recruit him. He might leave Japan. And then at some point, he just catches off in the stands. At some point, he's going to bat up. He suddenly notices Ruriko up in the stands. And he's just like, cannot keep his eyes off of her. So he keeps getting struck out. And eventually he's like, gotta keep it together. You have all these guys here to scout. Yeah, you gotta keep it together. And he finally he finally sees her again, hits the ball, and he's just like running, and she's just like fluttering up her hair because she's too hot. And he's like, oh my destiny. Just this dude's like just totally geeking out about his waifu up in the stands, the beer garu. That stuff's been great. There's other characters as well. Like I love the security guard guy. It gets into a lot about how like the security guards are a lot of focus of sort of making people feel comfortable and safe. So you have this kid's lost, and he's trying to, show the new security guy, don't be too rash. Here, give her this candy. Gives the candy, and then suddenly the new recruit security guard realizes, oh, way back when I was a kid, I came to the same ballpark, and this guy gave me a candy too. And so it's that whole like. The thing that inspired him to become a security guard was the old security guard that's now training him in security guard. So it's like a nice little kind of like wholesome moment between the two of them. There's some other characters. Like there's this one girl that's like a high school girl that is, wants to be a beer garu, but be a beer girl. But unfortunately she's stuck at the food stand, and she really badly wants to quit so she could be one of the girls that wears the cute outfits and, sells the beer. But every single time she talks to the manager, he like gives her a raise or a promotion and stuff like that. And so she's like, I really want to do this thing. And then, yeah, like the other one that I want to point out is I do like one of the baseball players, his wife comes there and gets mad at people that criticize him when he's out on the stand and whatnot. But the mascot was great too, because it's like an I'm totally gonna guess it's probably gonna be one of those mascot characters that they never reveal who's under the costume, but it's like one of those characters that seems to know what to say for everybody. It's like probably gonna be like some old wise man or something like that. But yeah, that was a good one as well. Ruriko thought that it was her mom because she's a lot of personal stuff, but she calls up her mom to make sure that you're not dressing up as a mascot for a side job, are you? But yeah. I'm liking it so far. It's not visually the most amazing thing, but it does keep it together well enough, so it's not bad. But actually, yeah, again, really enjoying a lot more than I thought I would. So it's a suggestion for me. I don't know if I don't remember if I put this in my top 10 of the season so far. I know I think I put it in my honorable mentions. Easy. Other than that, what else do we got? Takamine-san. Chris, are you enjoying Takamine-san?
I don't know. We'll find out.
And after these important news from our intro for the show, please put them on, Takamine-san, or Haite kudasai, Takamine-san. This is streaming on Crunchyroll. Running for 12 episodes. Done by Leiden Films. Sources of manga. The genres are comedy, ecchi, romance, slice of life. And yeah, this one opens up with a guy named Shirota, who at some point, he's like this guy that's like, the table is better off without me sitting at it because nobody seems to know my existence. I'm just like a background character kind of character. Well, at some point he is going off to the PE shed in order to eat his lunch like he always does. And Takamine, the most popular girl in school, shows up in there. And they've always kind of gone to the same schools every single year. And even in this school, she's extremely popular, top of the grades, top in sports and everything. But yeah, she shows up in this shed as he's hiding away in there, and he hides away. Notice that she's putting on a bra. Apparently she wasn't wearing one. She was no bra. That was a little weird, but they go back to class. They get their results for their exam, and Takamine, who is always, top of the class, always 100%, she did not get 100% that day. And so it's kind of a shock to everybody, like, oh my gosh, she's ruined her always having, it was like a legend that she would never, ever not get a perfect score. She asked if that was an error. He's like, no, sorry. It's kind of a surprise to me. And then suddenly she just grabs her pantsu and just yanks him down in front of everybody in the class. And he's like, holy crap, what is she doing? Wait, her butt, it looks so soft. But wait, what is she doing? And then suddenly jump back, and the teacher calls Takamine up again, and suddenly she has a perfect score again. And he's like, wait, no, I just seen that. That butt looked like so real. There's no way that didn't happen, kind of thing. So he can't let this, escape his mind. So he decides to confront Takamine, and she's like, did you tell anybody? No, I didn't tell anybody. And she's like, okay. Did you see him? I was like, what are you talking about? What do you see him? But, the lack of clothes, whatever. But it goes into her explaining to him that her whole power is like the eternal virgin road or something like that. It's the idea that whenever she takes off a, pantsu, bra, pantsu, whatever, she can jump back and undo something that she's done. So yes, she gets a bad grade, pull them down, jump back in time. She's able to correct that. But the unfortunate thing for her is that, when she takes them off, they disappear. So this like turns this whole thing where she essentially, unfortunately, threatens him with SA allegations, forces him to become her closet, where he has to carry around her underwear. And whenever she turns back time, since he's the only one that's able to remember anything, and it's probably because he's seen her putting them on, or seen her chest, bare chest. Because he's seen her bare chest, it seems like it doesn't affect him. Time will go back, but he still remembers. Nobody else does. And so he then at that point has to go over, once he realized that this has happened, he has to go over and put them on her. And so it kind of turns this whole thing where they'll be doing something, and suddenly he'll realize, oh, she must have turned back time again. Okay, now she's looking at me, waiting for me to come over there. Crap, now I got to come over there and put them on her when she's, in the middle of class and she's sitting at her desk or something like that. Yeah, that's the gist of Please Put Them On, Takamine-san. What's your thoughts?
So,
I
got a kick out of you being forced to put on the underwear on Himari.
I did? You got a kick out of me putting on?
No, you Natsume putting them on Himari Inuzaka. So okay. that was a very important point of the entire show. You're gonna get me in trouble. Everybody's going to freak out.
Yeah,
I need the.
You need to know who Takamine-san is.
Takamine is. No.
There's literally only two characters. One's Takamine and the other's a boy. You don't need an outline for.
Oh, I don't.
Random dumb show protagonist character, and Takamine. Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know about this girl. She's important, I'm sure, because she's a goth Lolita. No, I like the concept. I don't like. I guess the Takamine is kind of. She's weird. I don't know. I kind of like her and I kind of hate her at the same time. I can see why people would love her. I could see it so much. Shirota is absolute garbage. I can't stand him. He's useless.
He's useless.
He's useless.
So you wanted me to bring the up. You
yes.
wanted me to update your outline over there, so
I can properly name him.
Name him.
Shirota is
and
useless.
Discard him.
He's pointless. I did get a kick out of it. For whatever reason, my brain immediately caught on to the fact that she figured out that because of the fact that he's seen her chest, that was the trigger to make it to where he was able to remember everything. And yet she has never implied that there's anybody else who's been able to do this. Matter of fact, I want to say that
I'm assuming it's parents, because that was my whole joke. Is like, I'm guessing she's tested this before, and the only person I could think of might be maybe her mom or somebody.
You think so?
Maybe she realized at some point, hey, it's not working on mom and dad. Dang it. Because that's like, dang it. If any way that I want to be able to jump back time on is annoying parents or something like that, dang, it doesn't work on them.
Yeah, because I have that my brain like immediately latched onto that, and I was like, wait, how does this work? How did she figure out this worked?
The sad thing is the meaning behind what it's probably called Eternal Virgin Road is the idea, unless this girl goes commando this is a girl that will never ever be assaulted. Like, she literally could just, if anybody goes attack her, suddenly it's just, it never happened. They go to take them off and it undone. Nothing happens. That's why I was joking with some people. It's like, literally, Takamine is the type of girl that if you go on a date with her, and unless she's going commando that date, you ain't get nothing.
It's true.
You can't get nothing. Otherwise, I mean, I guess she could just, undo the meal that you get, and then you're like, yes. Good.
Yeah, you've taken this to even
I've been
odder spot
this.
than I did. I thought I was pretty bad with just getting stuck on the daggum boob thing.
I'm plotting it out. The origin stories of her ability, that was kind of messed up. The idea that like she just like had a bad bento, and then like she lost the race, and then she just peed herself. And it's just like, oh yeah, and then I went to take them off, and then suddenly it undone, and I just didn't eat my bento. I'm like, that's a good way to discover, I guess. Undo the trauma of peeing yourself at the metal stand.
There you go.
Right in front of everybody.
Either way, it's goofy etchy. I'm enjoying it for that. Outside of that, I'm not too impressed with the story, but who needs story when you have etchy?
Yeah, I have to admit that quite a bit of me is not like super devoted into kind of jumping up and keeping on to this series as it's airing. I've watched like maybe 1.5 episodes, and it's mostly because I've already read quite a bit of this, and so I kind of know what's currently being adapted and what's going on so far. It's one of those ones where I think going into the anime adaptation, my perspective on Takamine kind of shifted quite a bit. You know, getting it verbalized, at least having an actor playing a role and it being animated, and it kind of it amplified sort of a lot of her character now having it in animated format, because on one end it's like, yeah, this is very much so like she reminds me a lot of like Shinjagahara, not at all well wrote like Shinjagahara obviously, but she's very much so, she knows what she wants, she goes after it, she's very confident of herself. That is Takamine. She's very confident, and I think that's a charm that I like. And it does get into a sense here where she's not just a cheat, because this is somebody that realized at some point, I do have to keep my academics up. I have to keep myself fit. I have to be on the top of my game, because she loses underwear every time she does this. So it's not like she can, just reset, change the answer, didn't work, reset, change the answer, change this answer, reset, change this answer, reset. She's going to run out of underwear. So she still has to work very hard to keep her academics up there.
I'm glad you pointed out Shinjagahara, because that I was trying to place her character with different characters that I know. Because
it seems like she's obviously inspired by her.
Yeah, she feels very much like a character, and Shinjagahara is obviously the one that actually makes a lot of sense. I would
no doubt in my mind the writer probably created Takamine based on her. So, but yeah, the other problem that came from like seeing this actually animated is having the other part of episode 1 sort of put into a little bit more realistic viewpoint in the animated format is, yes, the false essay allegations on Shirota, which, I mean, the initially, yes, it's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be a joke, whatever, she screams with his hand on her chest. Everybody runs in the door, sees her on the ground with him on top of her. And then for some reason, the police are like immediately there, like really quickly. They bust in there, start, shackling him down. And then suddenly she goes over and says, you know what to say. He's forced to have to say, I'll become your closet. And it's like, okay, yeah, it's undone. Nothing really badly happened. She was probably going to reset it anyways, whatever. But then, like, it goes in the next episode, and he's still thinking about it. Like, I can't not do it because she might do this again. And I think even she says it at some point. It's like, this isn't funny. It's like, it just feels bad now that I see it, and the characters are voicing it and everything. It gives it so much more weight than when I read it in the manga. And it's like, this just doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not a funny joke. And I guess it would have been better if they more quickly adjusted it, because it's obvious. Very obvious very quickly that this is a story about this girl knows Shirota. She obviously likes him. I think even in the first episode, she says something to the effect of, you try not to look. And she says, you're just a gentlemanly like you always are, or something like that. I think there's probably a sense here where she was exposing herself, and he always looks away. Like every time that she resets in class, maybe he's the one that always looks away or something like that. It's obvious that they like each other. They know each other. There's a scene later on. It's in the OP. It's in there as well. It shows that they have some sort of past together. Again, they've been in the same class from every single school year. They're always in the same school. I know that based on my reading of the manga, it shifts very quickly to it's teasing girl. It's definitely in the teasing girl realm where she's constantly trying to show him everything, and he constantly goes, "What?" Which is obnoxious. But I think the biggest hang up that I have from reading the manga, and I get a same sense here watching it, is that one of the initial hooks that I had was the time travel pantsu. It's just an absurd idea that she time travels by yanking down her pantsu. And I was really hoping that they would actually utilize that mechanic in clever ways. And I think it really just kind of turns down to an excuse for these brief moments of forcing him have to put them on her in weird locations.
Yeah.
Which, my gosh, seeing I don't think I noticed it when I read the manga, but seeing it animated, I guess, put it into perspective for me. But like the whole scene where like she's sitting at her desk and she's trying to get him to put the pantsu on her in the middle of class. And like initially he just kind of goes down like he dropped something, and then he like slips them on and does this whole thing, but he doesn't get them all the way up. And then later on, she gets called to go up the front or something like that. And so he's forced to go over there and try to finish the job. Otherwise, she's going to stand up with just the bridge going on between the thighs. And he takes his knee and puts it under the desk and he pushes them up all the way up her thighs and in the crotch with his knees. And it's like that. In the shot where it had, it's like her upper legs are really long, or his upper legs are really long and his lower legs are really short. It just looks so awkward. I'm like, this physically just cannot work right here. It was bizarre. It was like, God, I don't think I ever noticed that when I was reading the manga. Thanks, anime, for dispelling and making that look really stupid. It's got problems. I mean, the other issue that we're kind of facing right now is, I mean, I want to give massive credits to Crunchyroll because this did seem like it was going to be the one case where they got uncensored version of it, but now it kind of seems like that's not the case, and they might actually have always had the middle area. They've never said anything, by the way. We just make assumptions. Nothing's been censored so far. But then when it got to episode 3, suddenly they had delay to the less censored broadcast in Japan. So my current theory, based on what I've kind of been hearing, that I'm more following towards, is that they probably have the less censored version, which is the second tier. There's a uncensored, there's a less censored, and then there's a censored. I think they have the less censored version, and they've been able to broadcast early because less censored and uncensored have been the same for 3 of the 4 episodes. Episode 3, I think, possibly had some stuff that was a little bit too much, and so it was finally censored. Or it could have just been a goof up. I don't know. But they briefly did get back to having stickers, which sucks. But then they went back to having no stickers. So I don't know what's happening. But either way, I give them credit for it. So far, it seems like they want to at least have the uncensored version. So, compared to Yandere Elf on High Dive being an L over there, it seems like for once this season we had a kind of a W for Crunchyroll. So give them credit where credit's due. But yeah, I'm kind of more interested. I don't even remember the goth Lolita girl from the manga, and I kind of do want to see her. Hopefully she's got a better chemistry with him than
I'm curious if they have weird powers too.
We'll see.
We'll have three girls having him as
she's probably just obsessed with him, or obsessed with her like everybody else, and she wants to get him out of the way. Doesn't understand why Takamine keeps messing with this nerd boy. What was it? Shirota. Check your outline, Chris.
Shirota is useless.
Shirota. Anyways, anything else on Takamine-san? Let's move on to Your Forma, which I don't know that I'm going to spend much time on. Your Forma, this is being done by Studio, based on a light novel, action, drama, mystery, sci-fi. It takes place in a world where they have like this investigation group that can basically hack into people's minds and read their minds to find out what, you know, crimes happen. The character that we follow is Echika Haida, who is one of these people that do this kind of investigative work by hacking into people's brains, and she is coupled up with an android guy named Harold Lucraft. I think they've implied in at some point that because her hacking skills, her brain diving skills are like so advanced, it takes too much of a toll. So she needs sort of a partner to kind of offset that, and that's what he kind of does. But yeah, they're investigating things. The big story plot line for the first couple or 3 episodes, for how many I watched, is around the idea that Harold is a part of this one line of androids that are supposedly involved in a crime. Robots are obviously, like most stories like this, are programmed not to harm humans in any way, but there's apparently this past report that one of his line actually harmed somebody, and then now there is a death, and so they're figuring Harold is involved with it, so they're trying to get him, and Echika is trying to, you know, solve the mystery before they lock him up. So they get into, you know, going to the original creator of his line of robots and talking with them and learning about this sort of black box that's inside of his mind that makes him very unpredictable because he's just that advanced of an AI. But yeah. Then it kind of gets eventually into some dude that apparently worked with the lady that designed them and how he's trying to expose them and how dangerous they are or something like that. My thoughts on the show so far, I'm very mixed on wanting to watch this show because I think I heard at some point that this was supposed to be later in the novel series. Like, this isn't the beginning of the novel series, which makes sense because I think what they implied is that in the first novels, Echika does not like robots, does not like them at all. And they imply that a lot with the first episode of the show. They're like constantly saying, I thought you really hated them. Okay, it seems like she's hanging out with Harold now. It seems like she's okay with him. Obviously, she's gotten over that discrimination or whatever. So it does seem like there is, especially it feels like going into episode 1, it kind of confirmed that fear that I had, because if you jump into the middle of a novel series and start the show from there, you either have to be at a transition point with like a cast or something like that, or a character moves somewhere else and thus they have kind of a reset of their surroundings, or you have to be really good at weaving in stuff that we don't know. And I really felt like from episode 1, this felt like either a absolute failure of introducing new people in the story, or they just assume you read the beginning. Because it felt like I was jumping into the middle of like the 5th episode of a show. I don't know who this girl is that they're going shopping with. What is she talking about with her not liking robots? I guess she doesn't like robots. Okay, apparently she's over that. Okay, tell this person I said hi. Who's that person? Who are we talking about? Do I need to know who that is? It felt like they were dumping a lot of names, and I had no clue what they were talking about. I had no context to their relationship. It felt like I was supposed to know the relationship. It was rough. The first episode was extremely rough. I do feel like the moment they started kind of kicking up the story about essentially the allegations upon Harold, her partner, and her trying to stop essentially him being arrested and them getting further into the investigation, it started to kind of, having that focus got away from that struggle with who the hell are they talking about all the time and jumping around so much with the plot points and not really knowing what we're kind of established or not established so far. It felt like it started stabilizing, but I never really shook that. And I don't know if it'll ever shake that fully. So I think that's sort of a big failure the show has. At the same time, it's still at least entertaining for me. It gives me kind of a vibe of something like not a Ghost in the Shell, because Ghost in the Shell is very much so more driven by like, you know, espionage and technology and all this kind of stuff. This one just really feels like there's a murder. There is a sense of like humans versus androids. There's AI stuff that's mixed in there. There's, you know, memory diving, that kind of stuff, but not quite to the levels of something that's fun like a Ghost in the Shell. It's definitely not in that realm. It's more detective driven than Ghost in the Shell. but it's still like enough technology that I'm kind of entertained by that as well. So it's something I want to like, but has some devastating flaws for sure. So that's kind of where I sit on your Forma. Your Forma. What else? What else? What else? What else? The Brilliant Healer's New Life in the Shadows. Guys, I don't think I've ever seen that full title. That is so funny. In the Shadows. He's no longer with the Heroes Party. He's in the shadows. Ishun de chirio shite ta noni yaku ta tazu to suiho sareta tensai chiushi yami hira toshite tanoshiku ikiru. This one is streaming on Crunchyroll running for 12 episodes, done by Makaria. Source is a light novel. Genres are action, comedy, fantasy. And yeah, this one opens up with Xenos. And Xenos is part of this one really, really well-known adventuring party. At some point, they finally tell Xenos, hey, dude, here's your pay. Get the heck out of here. We don't need you anymore. You're a waste of space. You're not helping us at all. You're just kind of you're holding us back. Peace out, ha ha ha. And then so he goes, okay. He goes to leave. Well, at first he's like, but I thought we were friends, because apparently they know each other from a long time. He's like, no, heck no, you're a commoner. Get the heck out of here. We got a lot of people that we're meeting. We don't need some commoner around here. But yeah, anyways, he leaves. And we find out that Xenos apparently, he doesn't have a license to be a healer. And that's kind of the other sticking point they didn't like. Because in this world, people that are healers get this license to be a healer. They train to be healers. But he's like from the slums, and he was self-taught healer. But yeah, now he's kicked out of the party. He decides that he's going to open up a clinic. Well, he ends up bumping into this guy and this lady that are like literally killing this elf forced servitude girl. And so he's like, here, have this coin. I'll buy her from you. And then he immediately heals her because she's going to die. And then he feeds her. And then he tells her that he's going to open up a shop. So he opens up like this underground healing place, and then people start coming there to get healed, and he heals like literally like there's like 3 factions in the area, 3 clans in the area that are disputing, which is the lizard people, the ogre people, and then the beast people, right? He heals them and then wins each one of them over. Oh yeah, he's also got like in the building that they have the healing clinic, there's like a wraith. And he like heals her enough till she finally gives up, and then he says, "I'm only going to take the first floor. You can stay on the second floor." And then yeah, so he went over the wraith too. But yeah, he keeps running into cute girls. He heals them, and then they want him to have their babies.
Yeah, pretty much.
So what do you think of oh my gosh, A Brilliant Healer's New Life in the Shadows? I think at some point they point out that, yeah, as per usual, that the party he was a part of suddenly can't function anymore.
Yeah, pretty much.
Big shock there, right?
Yeah, right.
It did seem like the assassin chick kind of wanted him. Oh no, I'm thinking of the Alchemist Atelier one. Wasn't the Atelier one where like the chick's like, haha, this party's done.
Pretty much.
Gotta go find the Atelier boy.
Yeah, he's that's the one with where the party leader is like going nuts over the fact that he's not making his food anymore.
Yeah, somebody else make it.
Well, I don't think they've ever brought up the party since, and I don't know if that's something they're going to bring up later, because they're very heavily playing on the fact that he is not necessarily OP, but he's doing a lot of things differently than most healers do.
He seems either that or just nobody knows like the capability of a healer, because yeah, like the ogre one, like he literally goes in there and he's like, it looks like you got a bomb in your belly. He's like, yeah, I accidentally ate it, so I'm gonna give you like the entire fortune of the place. And he's like, oh, okay. Scalpel summoning. He's like, he summons a mana scalpel, and he's like, and then yanks the thing out of her stomach and heals her back up within a split second. And it's like, how? Okay, you just did that. And then he
Well,
like literally uses like self-defense to like to shield his hand to make it like enclosed into his hand, the bomb, and it blows up in his hand. He's OP. Come on.
well, no,
It doesn't seem like he knows that he's OP, but I think that goes that whole realm of him like being oblivious to how amazing he is, because he keeps putting off that I think he said his trainer or something like that said that third rate is somebody that can heal wounds, second rate is somebody that can restore limbs or something like that, and first rate is those that can make somebody whole again. And it's like you literally just got done chopping off this girl's arm and then restoring the entire arm rather than healing the wound because that was easier. That seems like that's making somebody whole, right? So you're technically first class, but he keeps referring to himself as third class. So I don't know what the block is there.
Yeah, I don't know. I do know that they keep implying that healers are not supposed to do like 99% of the stuff that he does. Yeah. And I mean, even the defensive magic, they keep going on about, okay, you're not supposed to be both a healer and a defensive magic. But even when they talk about the defensive magic, he's not supposed to be able to do the stuff that he's doing. But it's not so much that he's doing the things that they're saying that he's doing. I'm finding more of a fascination in it's more the fact that he's thinking about things differently than what they're implying. So that's where I'm finding more interest in the show. The girls, they're cute. I like them. Dude is just an interesting character, and it's weird because I don't much care for the story. I find a weird intrigue in the kind of weird things that he's doing with the healing magic. So I'm middle of the road on this one. I kind of like it. I kind of like the girls. So I'm gonna keep going on it. I guess I'm enjoying it a lot more than I want to say I am. So
yeah, I think I'm pretty much unfortunately in this realm where it's like it doesn't do anything inherently bad, but at the same time it doesn't technically do anything. Like it. I mean, no joke. The show is literally heal waifu becomes achieved. Heal waifu becomes achieved. I'm sorry, I forgot to put the Saber character over here. I'm fixing that.
Yeah, thank you.
Miss Poison Fart Gun Lady. I only know her as Saber Face that shoots poison fart gun. I don't know exactly what the poison fart gun does other than farts and hurts him, I guess. Is that all of them? There was the lizard chick. I don't have the lizard chick either.
Yep.
Where's the lizard chick? Is she not important? Oh, she's right here. There's the lizard chick, the one that he chopped off her arm. She's a lizard chick, so he shouldn't even have to regenerate her arm, unless it's her tail.
That's just rude.
I guess that would have been her tail, right? Her tail can reform.
Maybe.
I don't think she has a tail though. Yeah, this is one of those shows too where it's like literally everybody that's in that clan looks like the monster they are, but the females all look like hot chicks.
Yeah, right. Well, I think the wolf girl is doing the same thing.
Well, I thought they were all kobolds, but then they show up and I'm like, oh no, they're werewolves. I'm like, oh okay, sure, they look like wolf guys. Anyways, but yeah, the show again doesn't really necessarily do anything bad, but at the same time doesn't really necessarily do anything intriguing or interesting. I'm kind of more curious as to what Xenos' big hang up to think that he's so horribly terrible at what he does, even though he constantly does things that are insanely OP. I do like his mentality of he was exploited for so long that he doesn't want to be exploited anymore, so thus everything requires pay. It's not that he turns away people, but he literally just waits for them to do equal pay. Like, I'm going to do this for you, you're going to do something for me. I did something for you, you're going to do something for me. It never is a requirement of something important. It just requires a pay of some sort. He never does anything for free anymore. And I think that's kind of an interesting and logical mentality there. Never to have that expectation that you're always owing somebody. And I'm curious if that's going to be something of importance later on. I think like I said, my biggest hang up is trying to find out what makes him degrade himself so much. I'm assuming that's because he was looked down upon for so long by his party. Again, the leader, I think, if that's the right one, literally, he thought that he was a friend, but obviously he wasn't a friend. So that misjudgment there could be what is affecting his, I guess, own feeling of significance and skill. I don't know. I do like the idea of the building of the underground medical facility, but I assume it's just going to probably go the usual route where eventually, technically with Saber Fart Gun Lady, she is already supposedly investigating this, is just going to turn into a thing where you're not supposed to have this. It angers the wrong people. Yeah. Eventually he does something incredible. Then they allow it to happen because he did something that was incredible, saved the kingdom or something. I don't know. It's fine. It's got enough to chew on, but at the same time, not really doing anything great so far. Sort of where I fall with it. It looks okay. It's very reliant on stills, but it looks okay. So that's something. Yeah, I like how they have this, like, they're all fighting over him, and so he just goes over there and just like creates this massive healing circle so they could just chop each other's head off over and over again. And they're like, eventually they realize we're not stopping. Like, nobody's winning. Oh, because he's literally healing them back up onto their feet right after they die. Again, totally not OP. Healing a massive arena of people in an instant, reviving them from. I think they even had some of them. Their heads were getting chopped off. That's where I was like going, dude, why are you okay with this? That they're literally killing each other over you. Anyways. Next. Once upon a witch's... No, let's do dinner table let's do dinner table detective first so that I can have a break later. Another one that I don't think I'll speak on very long, but dinner table detective, or Nazotoki wa dinner no ato de. This one's streaming for 12 episodes, done by Madhouse. Source is a novel. And this one opens up with a Reiko Hosho, and she's a part of the Hosho family. It opens up with the first episode. She's going to a party, a birthday party, and as they're there, eventually this crime happens. We find out very quickly that, yes, she is actually, her job is a detective. But she doesn't want her people of her job to know that she is of this Hosho family because they might treat her differently. Like, literally, like, their family is so predominant, it would affect her coworkers and whatnot. So she's secretly, a part of this family, and very rich family, established family, but she's secretly being a detective. So yeah, she very quickly has to, change, get in her detective outfit, go there, and then kind of find out it's like one of her friends is the victim of the crime itself, and she's got to solve it. And yeah, this kind of turns this whole thing where she was assigned, she's struggling to solve the case, but then eventually this butler shows up out of nowhere. He keeps actually showing up the entire time she's there and kind of helping her with things like, she's like, crap, they're coming here to solve this case nearby. And then suddenly the butler shows up with her uniform. She's like, where'd this clothes come from? Just hurry up and put them on. He's always kind of showing up at the right time to give her what she needs. And then eventually when she's kind of at the ends of her wits, like, she has to solve this case soon. Otherwise they're going to, kick them out. They're going to lose their evidence they have. And she's trying to figure it out. And suddenly the butler shows up again and says, do this one thing and it'll be solved or whatever. Or this is this thing you're not noticing or whatever. You're kind of dumb or whatever. And then that's the point when she finds out this butler was apparently assigned to her by her father. And so this is the sort of gimmick that from then on happens. I don't know why you went down there. You can't fit down there. The gimmick that happens with the series is that she goes to places, she's solving a mystery, then suddenly the butler shows up and gives her the help that she needs in order to solve the crime, and then she solves the crime. And that's sort of the whole shtick there. Her actual normal partner, which is not normal, her actual assigned partner is Kyoshiro, and he's just... He makes good points every now and then, but he's just like this very, very eccentric, flamboyish type of guy, like a dandy type of guy. Very over-the-top expressive, which works for his character because of his seiyuu. Is very well known for being able to pull that kind of stuff off. But yeah, that's the gist of the show. I'm not liking it. I really am not liking it. I think if you wanted to pull something out of me that sort of should work, but it unfortunately doesn't do enough to kind of carry it, it is like I mentioned, the seiyuu that's I didn't have it up here. I had it earlier. The seiyuu for Koshiro, which is her partner, he's the guy that voices the guy from Zombieland Saga, Mamoru Miyano. And he's an incredible seiyuu, but I think because this is technically adapting a novel series, he sort of has his script kind of set, so he can't really do much outside of his normal bounds, but he tries to. He tries to make his character a lot of fun, but he's not really that much of an importance on the show itself, other than kind of pointing out dumb things every now and then Reiko kind of having to respond to what he does, and then eventually the butler comes in and solves the mystery for them. That sort of has been the gimmick so far. The first mystery was obvious pretty quickly, and so just because they point out like the person wasn't very, the person that was the victim before they lost consciousness literally said it was somebody that I didn't really recognize, and then they had a lineup of people that all would be recognizable except for one, and I'm like, it's obviously that person, but we're gonna sit here and spend a big long time trying to figure it out. The second mystery, I'm trying to remember what the second one was. That's how much I don't care. I've already forgot what I remember the first mystery, but I don't remember the second mystery, and so that tells you how much I really care. They've been not that really clever with the mysteries themselves, and with the chemistry not really being there at all. I kind of like Reiko's character. She's kind of silly. I wish that her chemistry was better with the butler. Her chemistry with Kyoshiro, her actual partner, is kind of fun because she does play into his very overconfident self every now and that does lead to me like a little bit of a chuckle, but it's not enough to carry it. Like, it just does not have enough in the show overall to really carry it. So I don't even know if I'm going to continue watching it, but we'll see. That's the Dinner Table Detective. It's alright. Going back. Once Upon a Witch's Death. Finder. Reda. Aru Maho ga Shinu Made. This one's streaming on Crunchyroll, running for 12 episodes, done by Studio EMT Squared. Source is a light novel. Genres are adventure, fantasy, drama. And this one opens up with Meg Raspberry. And Meg Raspberry is being trained by, I forget what they called her. There's like these 7 sages or something like that, which is like the pinnacle of mages and witches in the world. And one of them is Faust. And Faust is currently training Meg Raspberry as a pupil. And then at some point on her
17th birthday.
Is it 17th birthday?
Seems
That's too
like
old, Chris. She gotta be way younger than that. You can't have him be 17 years old. Anyways, on her birthday.
I mean, I could be wrong. It just seems like it was 17 and she was turning. She was gonna be 18, and that was the timeline.
It's probably right. It's just
all I have to say is she sucks at doing what her main goal is.
Right. It's sad. The sad thing is that I honestly cannot imagine a show having a 17-year-old. That's just the sad part of it. No, that's too old, Chris. It's got to be younger than that. Anyway, it's her birthday, and Faust says, "Oh yeah, by the way, you're dying in a year." And she's like, "That's a funny joke. Is this like a hidden camera? No, you're gonna die in a year." Why? Yeah, you're cursed. Okay, can you just remove the curse? No, it can't be undone. You're gonna die in a year. And then she even uses like her like foresight ability to show her 1 year in the future, and like it shows her and she's like on a park bench, and then suddenly when that year hits, it's like time for her speeds up, like multiplies like massively. So very quickly she just starts getting older and older as she's sitting there, and then she just dies. And so yeah, 1 year you have to do something. And she's like, eventually says, yeah, I have a way of kind of fixing it, but it's essentially taking a immortality potion. And so, okay, well, where's the immortality potion? Yeah, you gotta make it, and it requires, what was it, a 100 or 1,000? It was 1,000, wasn't it?
It was either 100 or 1,000. Yeah,
it's a lot of tears of joy, like pure joy. And so she takes this little bottle, she casts this like time stopping spell on the bottle, and so that whenever somebody has one of these tears, it will drop in there and it'll crystallize instantaneously. And then if she can gather, it was 100 or 1,000 of them, she can then
It has
drink
to be
it. She can then
1,000
turn
because
it
she has to
into.
do three a day.
I want to say it was 1,000 because it was like an almost impossible amount per day in order to get it done. Like if it was 100, it was like, pfft. I mean, yeah, if you every week you're good. So it's got to be 1,000. But yeah, she's like, this seems impossible. Eventually, she kind of helps some people with some stuff, and they have some tears of joy, and it absorbs into it. So it seems like she's pulling it off. It's 17th. You were right. 17th birthday. You called it, Chris. But yeah, she does get a couple of them over time. But yeah, like Chris was joking about not really doing enough. Like it's like jumping forward like entire weeks, and then suddenly it's like, okay, it's been a week. How many? She hasn't got any more. She's totally dead. But like she eventually has like other sages showing up. One was Inori, and she shows up to kind of hang out with her for a little bit, and wants to take Raspberry to be her disciple, because she's like the witch of eternity or something like that. And she's like excited about it, but unfortunately she's like, no, but I'm dying in a year, so it's not really good. But that kind of re-sparks her desire to want to, because I think what Raspberry, her issue that she has a lot with is that she keeps kind of giving up on things, but then quickly kind of seeing something that kind of says, I kind of want to live past this year because I want to do this. Oh yeah, I would love to be her pupil. That would be an amazing. That's like everybody would want to be. Any witch would want to be this person's pupil. But I can't because I'm not going to live that long. Okay, now I have another desire to live a little bit longer. That whole thing. And it gets a couple little stories in there where they have like this one girl where the father, or they wanted to get the flowers that her mother would like so that she can rest easy, so that, her father can be happy or something like that. So, fulfilling this little role of finding the one flower that the mother wanted to show the daughter was what kind of produced the joy. There's this other one with this elderly lady.
It was a mixed one, though. That one.
Yeah, they were the mixed one. She got two of them, but they were mixed of joy and sorrow. Yeah. Which is.
But she did
sort of imply that they're still powerful.
Yeah, I think she implied that it was still very powerful because of how deep the emotion was.
And that's where I think it's sort of opening the door to there being sort of a caveat. Like she doesn't have to have 1,000 of them. It's just like, because these are so dense with like joy or whatever, it's gonna be like, oh, that one's worth like 20 or something like that. That's where I feel like they're eventually gonna go into, because it's like you can't fit 1,000 in that jar.
Well, I was also just
you
thinking
can't fit 1,000 in that jar.
I was also just thinking about the idea that
makes an entire kingdom happy.
No, getting to the very end, and then Faust says, "Oh yeah, but I have this," and then she puts a jar in front of her, and so she starts doing the joy, the happiness tears herself.
Faust cries into it.
No, she's gonna put a jar in front of her, saying that I've already made the jar for you, and then she's gonna make a whole bunch of tears all of a sudden.
Oh, she's been collecting them the whole time. Faust has been collecting them the whole time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's sort of the gist. Yeah, they had like this other one, which was this old lady that she apparently witches can see when the cloak of death is coming to people, and so she notices this old lady that's a part of the village is alone, and she's got that cloak, and so she wants to hang out with her, and then eventually brings her family over to see her one last time. It was cute. So what's your thoughts on Once Upon a Witch's Death?
I've actually been enjoying the show quite a bit. I really like Meg, and all the characters that are around her. It's not quite what I was expecting. I was kind of expecting, I think that we when we were talking about the idea of it maybe being like a wandering witch kind of ideal. It didn't quite work that way. It's actually coming off kind of similar in a way, but at the same time it is more around just kind of exploring this world's magic system and how their magic system is involved in people around them, and how these witches are just bringers of joy. It's so far. I don't know that it's kind of this weird thing where I'd like more of the stories, like the old lady. That I thought that was an absolutely sweet story. I absolutely enjoyed it. I loved the father daughter. I think that one was an absolutely fantastic story. The going into the girl that, or the witch that she wants to be a pupil under, that was okay. I didn't hate it. Sophie so far seems okay. I like to see a little bit more of hers before
Prodigy.
I kind of totally decide on her. I mean, she's my character's type, so I'm naturally inclined to like her.
Boring and emotionless.
Emotionless. They tend to be tease characters, so
Doesn't like characters like that. Just nothing.
So, but all in all, I'm enjoying the show. I'm really, really loving it. I actually think this is probably one of my favorites of the season so far.
How do you like her wife?
Feeny, she's all right. She's not done really much of anything that is
There was
kinda,
at some point she's like, wish she had like a desire or something like that, or wish that she wanted or something like that, and she's like, yeah, to be surrounded by men or something like that. And I'm like, why wouldn't it be women? And then, yeah, sure enough, she says it about women later on. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, there it is. That must have been a loss in translation there, because she's like obsessed with marrying Fine. So it's very much heavily implying that Meg is very much so in the Yuri factor.
mm-hmm.
Seems like I don't know. I'm okay on this show. Very middle road on the show. I agree with you that a lot of the stories that it has done so far, like the daughter and the lost mother, that got me towards the end there. It was decently solid. Even though Hindi looks like the guy from Full Metal Alchemist, and I was kind of afraid of what was going to happen to the poor daughter. But that aside, I was like, wait, I feel like I've seen this before. Oh, this is Full Metal Alchemist. This guy's going to totally turn her into a chimera. Get that girl away from that father.
That went dark real quick, Andrew.
It did. It got real dark in my head real quick. I liked the old lady. That whole thing was a decent story there. I thought it was pretty heartbreaking, but at the same time, kind of happy in the end. I did enjoy the whole segment with Inori, and again, kind of reinvigorating Meg into wanting some sort of future for herself, which I think kind of opens that door pretty well. But at the same time, I think overall I'm kind of struggling with sort of an overall purpose, which is not a bad thing, because it would be much more simplistic if it was just literally Meg. Yeah, like the whole Kino's journey. Meg just travels the world and looks for the next person to help them out. And for some reason, every single person that she runs into has tears of joy, and she clicks it, and ding, there's one more for the 1,000 mark. It's much more interesting to, yeah, like you were saying, getting into more of the, the role of the witches themselves, bringing joy to people. The fact that she's always pretty much been a shut-in, and this is sort of I originally thought it was going to be Faust is making up a lie to get her to get out, because she has been sort of sheltered, staying in that house. And you see that when she goes out into the village, it doesn't seem like she knows people. People know her, but they just know her as Faust's pupil.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't really have her own, like, story yet. And so this is almost feels like a way of Faust is trying to force her to get out there and do things. But it does seem like that eye of foresight that she kind of used did sort of at least force to have a vision of what that would have looked like. It doesn't seem like Inori is disputing it when she was questioned about it. So I do still kind of think there might be an element at some point where Faust says, it's always been a lie, but hey, thanks for collecting all these. We can turn it into a really nice tea. Tea of tears of joy. I still think it's going to probably turn into something of a punchline at the end, but it's still sort of forcing her to have experiences. And I think that's probably going to be the crux of a lot of what the story is going to be. If it's enough that it's going to be something that I have a feeling so far, my only issue is the idea of almost feeling like this could be a show that's going to be easily forgettable. Like it's not going to do something incredible. I just don't have a feeling it will do anything incredible. The writing hasn't shown me so far that it's going to be willing to really branch out and do something thought-provoking or different. Because, as much as I hate to say it, the story so far has been old lady is always alone, so she doesn't want her to be alone, then brings family to see lonely Grammy. Okay, mom's dead, daughter doesn't seem like she kind of gets what's happened. Father is upset about it. But no, daughter actually does get it. Everybody cry. It's not deep. It's not deep. It's emotional. It gets me, but it's not deep so far. So I don't know this is going to do enough in the end. Not that it's a bad thing. It's got enough in there that I think if it weren't for, like usual, that whole thing of like 60 damn shows in the season, it would float to the top normally, I think. But not with a season like this. Anything else on Once Upon a Time with a Witch's Death or something like that?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Let's move on to Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, the Yandere Nezuko arc. Sword of the Demon Hunter, Kijin Gintosho. Kijin Gintosho is the Japanese title. So the English title just has the English and the Japanese title. It's just streaming on High Dive, done by Studio Yokohama Animation Lab. Source is a novel. Genres are action, adventure, fantasy. Be advised, episode 1 of this show is like 53 minutes long, so it's almost like 3 episodes long. But yeah, I've watched the first 4 episodes. So I've watched the original. The first episode is pretty much like a movie intro, like the whole like beginner story of the entire arc. The second episode is like him returning back home, get a little bit of closure around his home story, and then the third and the fourth episode is like its own arc. But yeah, this one opens up with a guy named Genta, or a boy named Genta, and at some point his father is like beating the crap out of his sister, mistreating him, saying that she's a mistake, throwing her in a shed. She eventually runs away, and Genta, realizing this, runs after her and then tells her, let's run away together. And so they run away together. Eventually they get taken in by a guy named Motoharu. Motoharu takes them back to this blacksmith village that he lives at that has this shrine where there's a Miko there. And he's, stays there with Motoharu and his daughter, and they are raised together. They're having fun. Village takes care of them. At some point, find out that the daughter of Motoharu, which is Shiryuki, seems like Genta likes her. They form a bomb. She's like, yeah, when my mother passes away, I'm probably going to take over this shrine as the Miko. And he's like, well, then I'm going to become a sentinel so that I can always be at your side and protect you. So they do that. She becomes a shrine maiden. He becomes the temple, the sentinel. And then cut forward, at some point, these 2 demons show up to the village to come attack it. One of the demons, Genta, is dispatched to go take down. He runs off to take out that particular demon. He does end up defeating the demon before the demon tells him that they're there for a purpose, and that if his sword's purpose is to protect things, then what happens when the things that he wants to protect is no longer worthy of protection? Well, that's kind of ominous. In its dying breath, because it sliced off one of Genta's arms, it decides to give Genta one of his arms, and it pretty much fuses in with Genta. So now Genta has a demon arm. But elsewhere, the other demon that showed up at the village, that one confronts Genta's sister, Suzune, who at this point, over all these many years, has not grown older. She's always the same age, very young looking. But yeah, this one confronts Suzune and basically tells her, yeah, you're fighting back your demon spirit. You actually are a demon. You're trying to remain a human. Well, I looked in the future because I have the ability of clairvoyance. I looked in the future 170 years and basically implies that she's going to be the big demon lord being that is going to take over the land for the demons. So she's trying to help her out. Eventually tricks her into doing something really horrible in the village, which Genta returns home to. And in a rage, Genta attacks Suzune, now not looking the same because she's actually allowed herself to grow in her fit of rage. But she eventually tells Genta, look, Genta, it's me, Suzune, it's your sister. And he doesn't want to believe it. But then he comes to accept it, realize that she is truly a demon, that she has essentially no remorse for what she's done. It's like horrible stuff. And so he wants to put an end to her, but then fails to do that. And then she runs and flees away, deciding that because Genta betrayed her, she is going to destroy everything. She's going to come back and she's going to destroy everything. So that gives into the whole clairvoyance ability that 170 years from now, Suzune is going to come back and destroy everything. And so he needs to train himself to be ready for that day, as sort of a, repayment or undoing the wrong that he did by basically bringing her out into the public. But yeah, that's sort of the gist of the first episode. And then the second episode, like I said, is really kind of getting back to where his father was and kind of having a little realization there of that his father kind of knew what he was doing, even though it did seem pretty bad that he was throwing around this demon girl, technically as a demon. Then the third episode gets into this like slasher that is going around killing people in this one neighborhood, and he's trying to hunt down that one and runs into an elder demon that is disguising himself as a human in order to essentially retire. Doesn't want to be hunted by humans anymore, so he just mimics humans to live amongst them. But yeah, that's the gist so far. My thoughts on the show, I joked about in my video that I cover on this show that I had this feeling of like a Demon Slayer thing where it's like, oh, Jinta is Tanjiro, and he's traveling around with his demon sister, and she's so cute, and he never let anything happen to her, and obviously demons are good, right? But then, like I said before, that whole like manipulation of Suzune, and then suddenly Suzune goes like super disgusting, nasty, demonic mode, and in that yandere department, killing people, and it gets really, really dark very fast. And then Jinta walks right into it. I'm like, I guess you could say this is Demon Slayer if Nezuko goes crazy yandere sister mode and kills people, and then doesn't have any remorse for it. And then suddenly now Tanjiro wants to kill Nezuko. Okay, yeah, sure. We're not Demon Slayer anymore. Let's not do that. This definitely feels like more of a darker, like old 90s, maybe 80s demon slaying type of shows that we used to have a lot of back in the day. It has that kind of aesthetic to it and feel to it where it doesn't really hold nothing back. It gets pretty dark with the violence and whatnot. But at its core, what I'm kind of fascinated by so far is I do like the storytelling. I think that first episode was a really solid like opening to the overall story. It's great. I'm glad it was like its own episode in itself, because I think it was a nice self-encompassed story to tell you like this is what Jinta's beginnings is. Now it's Jinta's travel. And they've already implied, because obviously it's 170 years. It starts off at 1830. Obviously, that means that it's now going to be 2000 whenever Suzune shows up again to attack mankind, which, yes, puts it in almost modern times. Japan, where we do see a brief shot of him arriving at a shrine, and there's some shrine maiden there that's like, oh, so he never... I kind of wonder what stories he can tell or whatever of his journey to get to this point, which is now what we're having, which is the H episode or 2 episodes, it seems like sometimes, is a encompassed story of Jinta's journey through those 170 years until he eventually confronts his sister. Now, the thing that they have introduced, they technically introduced it with the first demon that gave him his arm, is this idea that Jinta... They haven't said why Jinta can do it. My assumption is that Jinta was always possibly demon, because he does technically kill a demon at some point and call it mother. But that could have been Suzune's mother. But I wanted to believe that at first that the reason that Jinta technically is awakening to a demon self is because this demon gave him an arm and it attached to him. So whenever he goes full berserk mode, suddenly his eyes turn red and his arm gets huge and he's able to use this massive arm. But anyways, going into the third and fourth episode, it does have at some point, he does essentially take upon himself, well, actually in the third episode too. Anyways, multiple times in the third and fourth episode, he does end up essentially taking abilities from the demons. So he defeats a demon, or he's there for a demon's death. He's able to take their abilities. So they had this one demon that was able to hide himself. He's able to take the guy's invincibility. He sort of even changes to look a little bit like the demon when he uses it. And then he kills this one demon and says, this is their ability. I'm going to take that. So he seems like he's absorbing abilities as he's going along, implying that after that 170 years, he's going to have like this array of abilities that he can then use in combat or whatever, which I think is really cool. I like this. Yeah, you can kind of call it like it's a very slow, that time I got reincarnation as a slime first episode. It's so I'm a spider, so what? For, shoot, what are we expecting here at this point? Like hundreds of episodes? I don't know. We'll see. But I do like that aspect, this idea of kind of having these very, hopefully, very thoughtful, different abilities that he's going to be gathering over time and utilizing them in combat against other demons. It does seem like he kind of wants to live in that area of between the demons and the humans. He is a sellsword, so it doesn't seem like he's like out for protecting humans. He's doing it for money at the same time. But he's been a decent character so far. I think obviously most of the drive force is going to be Genta because he is the crux of the storytelling. The second episode gave me almost a feel of like a Mushishi thing where he's traveling around and giving people advice. Like, I can kill this demon, but you're going to recreate it because demons are created by sometimes negative emotions. So you have to get over your negative emotion. Otherwise, it's just going to come back. So there's a little bit of a Mushishi vibe in there, but it's been solid so far. I've been very impressed by the show. It's up there as one of my favorite of the season so far. And not that I'm clamoring for each episode, but it's definitely one that whenever I get to it, cool, it's fired up. I want to watch it. So it's good stuff so far. Good stuff so far. I just hope it doesn't. I almost fear that it could turn into being very episodic because it's such a long span of time, 170 years. Hopefully it doesn't take too long to get to eventually that punchline. Or, I mean, eventually run into the idea of, does he run into Suzune before then? And figure out his emotions. It's pretty obvious she's not... I mean, it could turn into one of those things because of, like, after so many years, eventually he just doesn't care about what Suzune did. But it's very clear from Suzune's perspective, she doesn't get what she did. Like, she literally does not get it. Like, all she thinks of is, I wanted Genta to be happy, and I sacrificed everything to make sure that Genta's happy, and now he's not accepting when I did something that should make him happy. She doesn't get it. She literally does not get what she did was wrong. And so I don't know how that can be redeemable. But it could be one of those things where you're talking 170 years. It can eventually get to the point where he's like, I just don't care anymore because it's been so freaking long ago. But we'll see. Good so far, though. Looking forward to more. Looking forward to more. What is next, Chris? What is next on the list? I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my levels season 2. The Aoyuki slime battling, waifu collecting, beat 'em up show sensation. Trying to outclass a Heron-san in the second season roundup. I keep hitting that stupid button. Slime Taoshite 300 nen Shiranai Uchi ni level maxu ni natimashita sono ni. I guess that's like the subtitle. I don't know. Anyways, I think it's second season. Streaming on Crunchyroll, running for 12 episodes, done by Teddy. Good old Teddy. Good job, Teddy. Source of the light novel, comedy, fantasy, slice of life are the genres. And for those that don't know, this one, the first season opened up with a girl that was reincarnated into another world. And I think they implied, and they got into it again with this season, the goddess likes like eternal 17 youth women. She loves her girls.
She got in trouble
for it, yes. She loves her girls, so she reincarnated this overworked office lady into another world as an eternal youth 17-year-old. And yeah, she's a witch in this other world, so she decides to kind of like kill slimes nearby every day and then sell the gems from them to the nearby village. And she does this for 300 years. And yes, max out her level. And she becomes extremely powerful. And yeah, over time, literally every single waifu in the entire area shows up to either challenge her, or she just meets these slime spirits and decides to adopt them as being her daughter. There was this elf that like made this energy drink, which obviously, because she was an office worker that was overworked in her previous life, she's obviously very much so drawn to. So this elf that makes energy drinks, she kind of eventually becomes her wife. Beelzebub, the demon lord, a dead chick, everything. Like, it becomes a joke in the first season that like at some point the door keeps knocking and she's like, who's next? There's another person that wants to come here. Dragons, the blue dragons, the red dragons. There's like a ram and ram, the red dragon, and then the rival blue dragon. They fight. That turned into like a really cool action scene in the first season, by the way. That was like out of nowhere. Like the show's not the most greatest looking show ever, but like the first season when they had the dragon fight was like, whoa, okay, did somebody cook on this one scene? Second season looks all right so far. But yeah, the second season so far, yeah, like I said, yeah, they technically do run into the goddess again. She's been demoted, and she's like creating some weird thing where people like, you know, make stamps of happiness, and they collect all the stamps until they fill out their stamp book, and before they get the prize of another stamp book. Then they went to go see like this convention for spirits, which just turned out to be them chatting for a little bit. It was kind of funny. They went over and seen Beelzebub, her working at work. She had to go in there stealth like and watch Beelzebub work.
And they got in trouble for making too many foods and hiding herself when she could have just came in.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much everything. They cooked some stuff too. That too. Yeah, they cooked stuff and I think they went and sold the food. I forget. Yeah, that's right. They made like dongos that look like slimes or something like that, and everybody loved them.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. What's your thoughts?
A little bit of a slow start, but I trust the writer. I know that I'm going to enjoy it. I mean, I've had a chuckle here and there. I've enjoyed most of everything. It's just like I said, it just feels like it's getting into something. So I'm patiently waiting for it. As it stands right now, I absolutely get a kick at thinking about how many daggum girls are in her freaking harem. It is absurd. She rivals some of your bigger harem. I actually think she's beaten most of your bigger harems.
Yeah.
But yeah, having fun. Just enjoying it as it comes along.
Yeah, I kind of realized that when I finally got a chance to get around to getting caught up on the show that I not that I was a massive fan of the first season. I found it to be okay. I think my biggest kick that I got out of the first season was more of just kind of realizing at some point this is like a very different take than your typical Aoyuki, having her just being like, rather than some crazy sadistic character that she was playing as or whatever, it was like, oh wow, now suddenly she's just a chill isekai character. Mm-hmm. It was like a very different twist on her character and everything. I do like a lot of the characters. I mean, I got a huge kick out of Laika and Flatort in the first season. Again, their big epic battle at the end there. Got a kick out of Pecora, the Demon Lord, all that stuff. Second season has not really done much for me so far. I think there's a side of me that almost wants to feel like it's just trying to get us warmed back into it, but at the same time, it's the second season. It doesn't really need to do that. I do hope that it kind of gets picked up. Oh, that's right. The other thing they did, they had to go find there was an undead, a report of an undead. It was some wolf girl that just died in this house because they didn't want to leave it. And then she liked the fact that she was undead because she didn't have to eat or anything like that.
Yeah.
Okay. It just like dawned on me that, oh yeah, that's right. That was the last story that they had so far. I'm hoping it starts to pick up at some point, but it technically is sort of the same status quo that I kind of felt with the first season. It's just kind of it's Mama Asusa in another world with a massive waifu. That's pretty much it, and that's kind of just doing that. I don't really expect too much of it beyond this point. They made like an underground
the
gambling place too, so you played Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Yeah,
yes.
And then there was the spring lady.
The spring lady. That
she said, "Oh, nobody's been your mama. I'll be your mama." Thing.
Oh yeah, what was the droplet thing? It was a droplet spirit. And she woke up and came downstairs and realized her entire lap was wet. And then she's like, "You'll understand when you're older." And I'm like, is that a oops translate? What? Okay. I mean, it was cute that, yeah, Asusa, I don't know if they've ever implied her having like this desire for like a maternal, mother figure or whatever, but you kind of, yeah, you could figure that with her, I guess, living in another world for 300 years and not really thinking about her mom.
Yeah.
She had a close relationship
with
her mom.
They needed to fill that slot. I mean,
yeah,
they've got the big sister, they got the little sisters, they got
she didn't come to the house yet.
True.
Yet.
She probably will.
Yet. They got to make a droplet spirit shrine and then she'll pop up there. Anyways. Yeah, that was like the biggest joke of the first season is how many times that door knocks and this new person that just wants to join the harem and that she keeps having to build her freaking house up bigger and she keeps acting like she's going to keep the door shut on people. Like for the longest time, I remember Hakao, the elf, like it felt like she was never going to let her live there. Even though it was like an assumption that she was, it almost felt like they were purposely not allowing her to live there. And it's just like finally, okay, yeah, whatever. You're joining anyways. It's dorky. It's dorky. I've been killing slayings for 300 years and maxed out my levels. Let's get Lazarus out of the way. Lazarus, I want it to be good. Lazarus, why don't you want to be good? For those who don't know, this is definitely one of the biggest hype shows of the season, I think, overall for the general public, I think. It's being done by Studio Mappa, 13 episodes, an original action sci-fi series. Created and directed by the famous Shinshinero Watanabe, of course, is known for creating Cowboy Bebop and Carol and Tuesday. Pretty big deal. We had the director working on the action scenes, which is the guy that worked on John Wick, which is Chad Shlinsky. So some pretty big names behind the series. For those that know, this series is about Axel, who ends up getting recruited, was currently serving a lot of time in prison because he originally got like 4 years prison or something like that. But then every time you escape from prison or try to escape, you get like your sentence doubled. And so he's tried to escape so many times. He's got like hundreds of years of jail time because apparently it's his thing to escape from jails. Exciting character, I know, right? He just likes escaping from jails. That's his thing, his hobby, is escaping from jails. Anyways.
Like, he has a lot of other things to do. I mean...
Yeah, true. What else? I mean, free food there. You get free bed, and every now and then you just... Let's go escape. Time to escape again. Axel, the jailscaper. Anyways, he joins a team. I mean, I'm making a joke out of that, but what I'm going to get into in a minute, you're going to realize that Axel's probably the smartest of the entire cast. Anyways, so he's recruited into this group called Lazarus because, oh yeah, by the way, something pretty big happened on the news here recently. Essentially 3 years prior, this Dr. Skinner showed up with this miracle drug that takes away all pain. And everybody loves this drug. Everybody's taking it. Even some people are just taking it to get a quick high. Everybody's at this point pretty much taking it. It's just the miracle drug. But he shows back up and basically tells everybody, yeah, about that drug I made y'all. It's got a short half-life, and yeah, in a month or so, you're all gonna die. You're all gonna die. And yeah, I have a cure for it. He was essentially exacting justice upon the people. It gets into this whole thing where like his whole backstory is that he did a lot of like, speaking out on, global warming, mankind's killing the planet, they're killing each other, and he feels like it's his job to exact justice upon mankind. But if they can find him, he got a way to cure it, and that'll be basically mankind's way of surviving, is if they can catch him, I guess. So yes, this Lazarus group is a ragtag group of, again, a hobbyist escape artist. Some chick that's good with guns, I think. There's a hacker girl. Then there's some boy, I forget what he does. And then there's this cool dude, Doug guy. I think he has really cool cars. I don't know.
They keep him around because he has cool cars?
He's got some really fancy looking car. I'm assuming the hideout is his because he shows Axel around and it's got a bunch of techie stuff in there. So I'm guessing he's the car guy. I don't know. Christine's got a really nice bike, so she could be a bike person. I don't know. But anyways, they travel around and try to find Skinner. Which surprised, they actually found him in episode 3, but for some reason, Doug, in his genius Wikipedia article that he was showing everybody, they stand around and they go, here's the information we have on Dr. Skinner, the person we're supposed to find. They're literally scrolling a Wikipedia page. The format is a Wikipedia page. That's where they get their information from. And then they go to this one area where there's like a bunch of like homeless people. And he goes by this one little tent, and there's literally this guy with the beanie on that has Dr. Skinner's beard, mustache, and hair same hair color. Anyways, Doug didn't see him because that stupid Wikipedia article did not have a beanie on his head. So obviously not him. He's like, you look familiar. Nah, Dr. Skinner doesn't have a beanie. And the guy over here said that he was deaf or something like that. So I'm like, oh, well, Dr. Skinner's not deaf. So it can't be Dr. Skinner.
It's a magical beanie, Andy.
But they met up with some dude, and then Doug trauma dumped on some random stranger. So it's good job, Doug, and trauma dumping. And then they go off and they go to this one India place or something like that, and they end up saying some code word. They're supposed to see this granny and her food, and then she makes them. And then apparently this lady knows Skinner, and so. Anyways, yeah, that's Lazarus so far.
You're stuck on the beanie, Andrew.
I want to love this. Obviously, I think that Shinichiro Watanabe is an incredible legend of the anime industry. I think Cowboy Bebop is still to this day a massive classic. I actually really did like Carol and Tuesday. I know that it was kind of a mixed reaction to Carol and Tuesday. I really loved Carol and Tuesday. So this is kind of it felt like another Cowboy Bebop. I mean, Axel obviously looks like he's looking a little familiar there. It looked like it had the vibe and look of Cowboy Bebop with what I think is some of the best fight scenes, which is John Wick, having that kind of mix in there as well. The fight scenes are cool. They're fun in this series. That's for sure. There's a fun vibe to the show. Its biggest weakness is I think it just lacks character. Like, these characters, I don't care about. They don't feel fun. They don't seem interesting. There's not a vibe to them. There's not a mystique to them. I just don't care. Like, so far we've gotten into, like, out of nowhere, Christine, like, freaks out over Axel because he says how many years he's supposed to be in jail, and then that supposedly shows that she has distrust for people that are criminals, even though she's a criminal. Again, Doug gives a trauma dump to some random person about his past. I don't care. Leland, I guess he's like petty theft or something like that, and so he shouldn't even really be there. Elena apparently is a famous hacker. Don't care. I just don't think they have the chemistry, and they don't have to have deep backstory. Don't get me wrong. Cowboy Bebop and even Carol and Tuesday, they have a vibe to them. They have a chemistry between the characters. These characters don't seem to vibe together. They don't seem to jive together. There's no chemistry. There's no fun. There's no tension every now and then. It just doesn't have a vibe check there at all. And then everything around that to what they do with each of these episodes, with each mission they go on to try to find Skinner or find information on him, they're dumb so far. Like, each one of the little encounters are just kind of dumb. Like, the first one they go out on is that there's like this little bunker that apparently Skinner had bought. And so they go there and they end up getting in the middle of the crossfires of like the CIA and the FBI, and they're all kind of charging in with these like Looney Tune like bumper cars, vehicles running down the street to get to them at the same time, and they all kind of converge to one location, and then by the drop of a hat everybody stops shooting each other, and then it's like, oh, funny, it's all about this. It just doesn't feel right. Like, overall, it's not passing the vibe check that you kind of expect for this creator. I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. I almost feel like it's one of those cases of like, is Shinichiro Watanabe even involved with this? Is this one of those ones where it's like it's just his name? It feels that way. It feels like a MAPPA show, for sure. It visually looks super good. The actions are super good. It does feel like it does have a vibe of John Wick in there. I definitely feel that. But I don't feel Shinichiro Watanabe. Now, I will say, I think it's episode 4, which is one that released the day of the recording of this. That episode I seen in the PVs, it looked a lot more like a Cowboy Bebop feel to it. So maybe this next episode will be the good point. I've heard from several people that are like, nope, I'm dropping it after this episode. So I'm like, I guess it wasn't enough. I was feeling after episode 3, if 4 doesn't do something, I hate to do it, but I'm probably going to drop it. I know it almost feels like it's one of those shows because it's like, you know, it's getting a dub with it and everything like that, English dub with it. It's kind of like one of those shows where I might just turn on on a second screen, if anything. But it's definitely not a show that's going to be keeping my attention or be something I'll be selling to anybody at this point. Just I don't. It's sadly not working. It's sadly not working. I kind of wonder how it's doing on ratings and stuff like that. I really do kind of wonder if, because I haven't seen really anybody talking about it. The only talking about it that I've seen so far is this week with the airing of this episode this week. This is the first time I've seen anybody talking about Lazarus. 7.5. That's not bad, but it's not great. It's again not Cowboy Bebop. The only discussion I've seen anybody making of this show so far was this episode, and it was because I think it was like a drone or something they sent off looked like Spike Spiegel's ship. That's the only. It's just because suddenly everybody's like, "Oh, is the ship?" It's the ship moment. It's a callback. It's obviously a reference, Chris. That's all people care about talking about it so far. It's pretty bad. Anyways, that's that. I wish it was better. This was definitely one of those ones I wasn't expecting it to be a golden show or anything like that, but it was in my most anticipated, and it was mainly because you got a team behind this. Let's do one more, Chris. The Gorilla God. Do you want to talk about the Gorilla God?
All right.
Wrap it up with the Gorilla God. I actually like this a lot more than I thought I would. How are you on it? Are you angry? Where is it at? There it is. Apparently, it's spelled differently on the other list, so I couldn't find it. Finders. The Finders. Finder. The Gorilla God's go-to girl, or Gorilla no Kami kara kago sareta surejo wa oritsu kishidan de kawa gararu. Gararu, I guess. Anyways, done by, it's streaming on Crunchyroll for 12 episodes, done by Kashigarasu. I don't think we've ever had that studio before. Based on a web novel. Genres are comedy, romance, fantasy. The director worked on Mercstoria, Etotama, and Diamond. And series composition writer worked on Mercstoria. This one opens up in a world where at some point people can receive a blessing from a god. There's many different gods. They're all based on different animals. And Sophia Leeler, which is our main character, goes up to the podium to get hers, pulls one of these cards, and come to find out it's the Gorilla God that has bestowed its blessing upon her. She's like, what the heck? The Gorilla God? That's kind of weird. Later on, she stops one of the instructors and says, hey, I got the Gorilla God. I don't think I've ever heard of that one. It kind of surprised the guy, like, oh, that's great. Soldiers, the military love the Gorilla God because they're super strong. Let's get you signed up for them, whatever. So it kind of gets the attention of the military. She gets a summon to actually go try out for an exam to become a soldier because they're so, like, the military, like, these are like the big dogs on the military battlefield. So they badly want her if she is blessed by the Gorilla God. But yeah, she kind of gets roped into that, kind of goes along with it so that she doesn't, disobey the kingdom. And very quickly, she catches the attention of pretty much everybody. Even though it's supposed to be kept a secret because she doesn't want anybody to know because it's kind of embarrassing. Everybody else is just kind of going, oh yeah, you probably would want to keep that a secret because yeah, it would, bring the attention to a lot of people. Too many people would be coming at you and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's kind of the whole. Even though they're trying to keep it a secret, it seems like everybody figures it out very, very quickly. Mm-hmm. Because yeah,
except for the mean lady.
Yeah, the mean lady. But yeah, the Gorilla God, like most people, like if you're like a bird or something like that, they give you like they'll have wings, they can fly around. This one guy is a dog god, so he's able to run really fast. Like as the Gorilla God, it's like everything. Like she's super fast. She's incredibly strong. She can catch people and drop from a really high height, like everything. Like it's like the all-arounder. She's just mad OP. but she doesn't want it. She's like, I don't want to have this life in the battlefield. It should go to somebody that actually wants to do this kind of stuff. So it is kind of a curse upon her at the same time. Very quickly, the leader of the battalion that she's trying out for the exams,
she's falling in love with him,
and
like,
yeah, he's
super bad.
He's doki doki for her. She's doki doki for him.
He's dokied for her.
I guess it's because he keeps running off with her. Like, even though she's supposed to be a subordinate, even though she's supposed to be trying out for the exams, he's treating her like a damsel and running off with her because she got a boo boo on her hands. Mm-hmm. Like, isn't that a little bit sexist?
Maybe.
That of everybody that fell from the buildings and is fighting for their lives to do this training, he's like, "Oh, you got a boo boo on your hand. Come with me. I'm gonna put some bandages on your hands."
Gotcha.
Are you doki doki for me yet? But yeah, he did technically forget to tell her to cut her bangs, and so she got in trouble with the commander. That I'm still not over. So they have this general guy shows up to check out the new recruits, the ones that are doing the exam, and he does a little speech, and then he immediately looks to Sophia, and he goes, "You there? Those bangs are going to get in the way of your ability to do your job. Cut them." And then he goes, "Leave." And she's devastated by this. And then it cuts to a couple of people as they're all kind of reacting to the fact that she's got called out. Eddie, his bangs aren't going to get in the way.
Right?
They're Kirito hair. Like the bangs that go way down here, and it's literally in his mouth. It goes down his face, in his mouth. That's not in the way. Literally Luis, Mr. Doki Doki Boy. His little right-hand man, the one that can't keep his hands off of Sophia. He's got the same thing, but it's about under the eyes, right about here, down the middle of the face. Sophia's like barely under her eyebrow on the left side. Those bangs need to be cut. But all the other guys, I mean, yes, technically Isaac, the puppy boy, they barely had his eyebrows. He's good. But we're not gonna get on the bin. Sexist. That's 2 strikes of sexism right there.
Oh my gosh, Andrew, just burn it. Come on. Give me more.
I'm thinking. I think there was something about Eddie when he was getting confronted by the bullies, and she like stepped up there, and one of the guys like grabs her and said, "Come here, Hessie," or something like that, and she literally just grabbed and throws him.
Yeah.
I think there was something sexist about that. Anyways, what you thinking about this show? I forget what else. They're like becoming best as friends and stuff like that, and
I like it quite a bit. I find it.
Oh yeah, everybody joins her school. That was like, I should have seen that coming, but yeah, everybody, even the commander guy, Luis, everybody joins her school, and thus everybody's jealous because they're all paying attention to Sophia.
I've liked it quite a bit. I was actually very surprised how much I've enjoyed it. The Sophia absolutely pulls off this kind of a character who's kind of getting drug along with this entire situation. She really doesn't want to be in the spotlight. She wants to be basically left alone. And yet, no matter what happens, she somehow keeps getting more and more attention drawn onto her. I mean, she's a good girl. I mean, I got a kick out of the falling out of the tower. She's trying to do the right thing, but at the same time, when she does the right thing, she gets dragged into more attention. So yeah, I've actually really enjoyed it. It's just been a blast.
I'm in the same boat where it's like I'm very much so surprised about how much it's kind of working for me. I not that I really had a feeling that I wasn't going to enjoy it from the PVs and whatnot. Just more so, the big question mark that is posed is, can it really hold it? Like it gets past that initial like, oh yeah, this is funny because she got this blessing. It's very masculine. It's very much so physical. And she's a girl. She wants to not really be involved in that kind of stuff. This is not the life that she wants. She just wants a kind of a peaceful life. And so she's kind of getting forced into military. Like it's her life is normal, then recruited to the military. That's kind of the ordeal here. And I do like that she has kind of a conflict with the idea of this being something that everybody's seeking out. Everybody would love to have this ability. and she has it. Why me, kind of thing. And I think they do imply, I think at some point, if this is the right show that I'm thinking about, this last week's been pretty blurry for me. I think this is the one where they kind of implied at some point that because of who she is as a person, it's probably why the gorilla god literally chose her. Like, you are a certain type of person.
You remembered the scene right.
Okay, good. I almost messed up earlier with the whole Atelier Meister thing and the other show, getting those mixed up. It's like 60 shows, people. They get mixed together sometimes. But yeah, it kind of implies that she is technically the perfect fit for this. The only thing that I'm sort of worried about is how it incorporates everybody else, because there is sort of a sense here of some people, like they had the whole like room of like people that are all kind of questioning her. Yeah, the guy that is the Hawkeye or whatever that's part of the arms group that is super into Sophia, but they're like, no, but you're in that group. She's not fit for that. The gorilla god's not fit for guns.
Yeah.
Like literally they took her to the firing range, and she immediately picks up the gun and it snaps in half, and she's standing there going like, oh, and then it like cuts to like, it shows the gorilla spirit kind of just patting her on the head like, sorry, kind of thing. I do got a sense of like the aspect of the gorilla god's literally always there, like a big mama that's always like protecting her. So like if something does happen, somebody is trying to take advantage of her, she's like just beats them like really quickly, and then it kind of has that sense of the gorilla just being there like, yeah, don't touch her. I like that stuff. My biggest holdup so far is I don't really care about the guys in the show so far. Like, not that there's anything wrong with Luis. He seems like a charming, cool dude, and she obviously is doki doki for him because he's super charming. I don't really get a sense of anything of value of anybody. Isaac just feels like the puppy. Eddie feels like the mysterious guy. Have they?
He's a Kirito.
Yeah, he's totally a Kirito, but he doesn't want to reveal what he is. I'm gonna assume that he's probably something of a snake or something like that, something unsavory. But they're just there. It almost feels like everybody else is sort of just an attachment or something to force her to go forward. They don't feel like they have a presence yet. They don't have a character. It really does feel like it's being driven by mostly Sophia. Like she's literally carrying the show, and everybody around her is sort of there just to cause conflict or jealousy, or like the moment they all show up at the school, it's like literally, oh, there we go. Now everybody's jealous of Sophia. Now she's got to deal with this stupid, annoying chick that's jealous of Sophia being around him. Okay, move on. So that's kind of my sticking point right now, is I think it's a lot more charming than I thought it would be. I love Sophia and the gorilla god. I adore their chemistry and her kind of having to get mixed up in everything. I just don't feel anything else. I literally don't feel the other characters. Hopefully at some point the rest of them kind of fill out, or they bring them to the forefront a little bit better. Because again, I think that characters like Isaac and Eddie can be good supports for Sophia. They just need to do more with them. So it looks all right. The show looks all right. Not great, but it looks all right. Even though they got mad at Sophia for her bangs that don't exist. And then he takes her to the barber as an apology because he didn't tell her. Which you have to tell her because everybody else has longer bangs. They go to the barber, and they cut her hair, and it didn't change. It just made the rest of it fluffier. It's like she didn't cut because I was like concerned because technically she does go home and she goes to cut her bangs, and of course because she's so strong she breaks the scissors. Probably the gorilla god trying to stop her from cutting her own hair, so that she's trying to be. I think the gorilla god's being a wingman, trying to help Sophia get with Luis. But yeah, she cut, and I'm like, oh crap, she's gonna totally cut it all short, isn't she? She's not just gonna cut the bang, she's gonna cut the whole thing. And then they go to the barber shop. I'm like, oh, they're gonna cut the whole thing, and they didn't cut the hair at all. Actually, I think they made the hair grow back that she cut earlier, because she literally cut the bangs, and then she goes over there and it's just all nice and cut, and it just comes down the air again. So I don't know what the magic of anime. Maybe
they'll forget that they changed the artwork, so then they go back.
It'll cut the next episode. The entire studio realized they got it wrong, and suddenly Eddie comes in with like his massive Kirito bang gets cut. Anyway, that's the Gorilla God's go-to girl. What was that wasn't the title in the Japanese, was it? Because that's like, well, obvious because it's way freaking short. I forgot what the title is that we used when we were doing the preview. I don't think that was it. The young lady who was blessed by the Gorilla God is adored in the Royal Knight Order. Okay, that's way different. That title is much different than the Gorilla God's go-to girl.
And you know what's funny? That actually fits what's going on with the story a lot better than a Gorilla God's go-to girl.
Yeah, because the title they're giving here, the Gorilla God's go-to girl, implies that like the god wants something done, and they're going to her to do it.
Yeah.
Have we established at any point yet that the gorilla needs her to do something for it? Except for, like I said earlier, they technically had that whole thing where they were implying that the Gorilla God chose her because of her personality, what kind of person she is.
Mm-hmm.
But again, not choosing her to do something. She's not like a gopher. Like suddenly she's like, oh no, I have to go do this, or something like that. Is that a good gorilla voice?
I think that's Donkey Kong.
Oh, he's not a gorilla?
Yeah.
What?
I was just saying that.
Yes. What? A or B? Yes. Okay. So C? No. Okay, so it is B. Yes. Or A. Yes. Damn it. Look, see, Lazarus is like a 7.5. This show's a 6.8. If I had a current ranking, I'm going to make some people mad here. I would put this above Lazarus right now. Because at least she would have seen Dr. Skinner in the stupid tent.
He's so stuck on that. You're stuck on the beanie.
She would not
You're stuck on the beanie.
She would not need that Wikipedia page. She would have spotted him. If she didn't,
Andrew,
the gorilla would.
Let me ask you an important question. Did that show offend you?
Which one?
The Lazarus show, obviously.
No, the Gorilla God's go-to girl.
That offends you?
The title offends me, yes. But the sexism, the two strikes of sexism, and the fact that they called her to cut her bangs and she didn't technically cut the bangs.
So Lazarus does not offend you?
Yuki's already set to go. She felt things rearing up. Lazarus, yes, definitely does offend me. Lazarus does definitely. Which of these shows that we talked about today offended me the most?
I already know my show.
Because technically with Catboy, Can Boy Girl Friendship Survive offended me with that stupid, outrageous outburst that she makes. Catch Me at the Ballpark did not have an offensive moment except for some pretty bad animation at some point. Takamine had the whole like essay allegations thing, which kind of sucks.
But you haven't watched Compass.
Oh yeah, did you want to talk about Compass again? Did you want to do a second
Compass
review on it?
offends me.
Sword of the Demon Hunter did not have the main character correct his yandere sister and turn her back into a cute Nezuko best girl in a box to travel around with him. That was a massive destroying of my expectations for the show. I expected him to travel around the world with a Nezuko girl in a box, but they didn't. That's offensive. Lazarus, they failed to see Skinner in the beanie, and Gorilla God has two. Yeah, it's Lazarus. Lazarus is the most offensive of the entire season so far. Anyways, that's anything else on the Gorilla go-to? I'm sorry, I kind of jumped out of that whole thing. Are you done with that?
No, we're good.
Impressions.
I enjoyed it.
That leaves us with a lot left. I'm assuming we'll probably have 2 more parts because I think there's still even more beyond this list that I have right here. So it'll be a fun next week. Hopefully. Do you need some suggestions for next week?
Sure, go for it.
Currently, in my list that you should put your top priority is Uchijin Mumu, because I think you're going to love that show. I think you will love that show. Machina-san's not going to be much of an investment. You're going to have to go Unless you want to get that sweet Ocean Vale subscription, only like $14.99 a month. You're gonna have to go with Yo Ho Ho. Two Perfect Sync, because I said that you'll probably actually really like that show, and I do kind of like that show too. It's up your alley. Were you already gonna do From Old Country Bumpkin to Swordsman, the Paul Gray Rat Isekai into Another World?
Isekai is probably.
It's not Isekai. It's a joke because a guy looks like Paul Gray Rat.
I thought that was the Tibet one.
What?
Nothing. I thought.
Okay.
You get the other.
Yes, Chris. Summer Pockets. That was the other one. Summer Pockets. You're gonna love that show. That's totally Clawing Out again. I guess he's got that great character chemistry kind of stuff. Like they have this one moment where his package arrives there with some of his stuff because he's staying at his aunt's place, and he's digging through this box, and his niece or somebody's there. I forget what her relation is to him. He's digging through this box, and she's standing there watching him, and he has this little photo in there, and it's of him and his swimming buddies from his swimming club that apparently he's got some issue with. And she's like immediately, "Oh, is that you in a swimming club?" And he's like, "No, that's not me in a swimming club. That's me in a swimming trunks club." And she's like, "That doesn't exist." It's like, "Yeah, it does." "No, it doesn't." Go ask Aunt, I forget what her name is. Go ask her what a swimming trunks club is. And so she's like, and runs off. And then you can hear her yelling in the background, "What is a swimming trunks club?" And then by the time she gets back, she's like, "You lie. There's no swimming trunk club." And he's gone already. I'm like, that's totally, it's totally like this Fuko Tomoya type of chemistry. Like even the whole segment where they're trying to figure out who's going to do chores which day. He keeps winning and she can't figure out why. And he's like, because every time you do like each of the ones, like whenever you do the rock, you do the chiki or something like that with your face. So I see in your face exactly what you're going to hit. Like it's literally like her face is saying what word she's going to do. And he's reading it. And so she keeps like, okay, well this time I'm going to do the jiku when I do the scissors. And so he's just like, okay. And then he knows he's going to do the scissors and he keeps winning. And then eventually she's like goes stone face and then does it again. And she wins. It's just like, it's like Tomoya doing the whole like, high five thing stuff with Fuka. Like it's that kind of chemistry stuff again. It's like, it's such a good show. Anyways, I'm getting to my first impressions, but that's good. That gives you a taste. It's super good. Plus the best walk-in scene ever.
Really?
The best accidental walk-in scene ever. I've watched that clip so many times. It's too funny. Like it's kind of like, what was it? My gosh, the Kyoto Animation show, Myriad Phantom. I think that one had like a funny twist on the whole like accidental fall on type of thing. It's like that whole situation where it's like it's the usual the walk-in thing, but how it like resolved is like I did not see that coming. Like it's it's another one. Oh my gosh, I can't believe he just did that. It's good. It's good. Super good. Anyways, that's for next week. Or the following week. Again, it doesn't have to be next week. We got 2 more weeks of first impressions. But yeah, that's it for this week. We hope you guys enjoyed this run through of shows. Fun stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed. As always, as usual, we love you guys' support. Everybody that supports the channel, we have at otakuspirit.com. It's where all of our links are to ways to support the channel. We also have our links there for social media and our Discord. Join the community there with some great people to discuss a lot of these shows and more. Yeah, until next week. Till next time, I'll take care.
Os.